¿Qué tenemos? ¿Será posible que Malibuca gane su primer FNCS? Tenemos la partida número 6 del último día. La partida final de la FNCS de Europa. Ponemos la predicción. Quiero que sea una predicción generosa. Es Thomas y Malibuca contra Quizzy y Thomas HD. Ponemos la predicción. Vería mucha ilusión si es que votan todos. ¿Quién gana la FNCS? A la mierda, weón. Merstach y Malibuca están sin pelear. Thomas y Quizzy están sin pelear. Dios mío.
Securing as much loot, as much damage as possible, as now that Quizzy and Thomas are not contested entirely, they will have to focus a bit more on getting those tags. Misha Tini are going to be the duo that's close.
Ponemos la predicción, muchachos. 5 minutos para que vote sus puntos. La predicción está en juego. Y listo. Predicción de 5 minutos, papus.
Otherwise, that's when things will start to go sideways, and Quizzy is moving over in that direction. He has to be careful. Luckily for him, he does hear some shots pop off. Chance to get some damage onto Teeny. But he has to be careful. There's so many dangerous players waiting in the wings all around this position. And with little builds left, it's a great decision for Quizzy to disengage.
No, no digan, no. Voten la predicción, señores. No. Uy, nice. ¿Qué es lo que está haciendo? A ver qué están haciendo. No creo que vayan a grifear, ¿no? Porque es un lobby completo, pues. ¿Qué están haciendo? ¿Qué pasó? No entendí qué hicieron. ¿Qué hicieron? Le grifearon al señor salvaje. Bueno, no sé. ¿Que le hizo un hijo? Pasen clip. ¿Hay clip o no hay clip? ¿Hay clip o no hay clip?
To this from the qualifiers, semifinals, first day of grand finals, now the last match of the second day.
Pasen clip de lo que le hizo. ¿Le metió francazo? ¿Qué hizo? Ah, chucha. Ah, ya, está bien. Uy, Quizzy sacó kill. Esta gente recién está landeando, mira, qué loco. Voten en la predicción, muchachos. 2 minutos para votar. ¿Quién gana la FNCS? Quizzy, Thomas o Merstach y Malibuca. ¿Quién gana, muchachos? No nos olvidemos de Kiro y Kido, que también están, no es tan mala. ¿Cuánto están diciendo esta gente? No son jugadores desconocidos, tienen mucha plata. Voten en la predicción. Vamos a ver cómo van los puntos. Yo no quería decirlo. El que no vota es gay. Ya dije. Yo no quería decirlo, pero ya lo dije. Activé mi hechizo maldito. El que no vota es... Ya dije ya. No spoilees, porfa. El que no vota en la última predicción... Ya hay campeón, todavía no tiene nadie. Todavía no hay, todavía no hay. No spoilees, por favorcito. No pasa nada aquí, Dra.
And then obviously the tendency for Veno and Tayson to move over from Grand Glacier is going to be real in this position. The Yanis and Flixie have had enough. They're going to
Estamos con 50.000 contra 50.000 puntos. Última predicción de Europa. Let's go, Seth. ¿Qué? ¿Cómo que? ¿Y cuándo termina la predict? Termina en un minuto. Un minuto termina la predicción, Nikito. King está último, creo. A la Sanle.
100 points, Jacob. You said it. That's what the Victory Royale can get you today. With 6 points per elim.
Ay, 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 ay. Se pica, muchachos. Oye, igual Valir Rizzo no es tan lejos, ¿ah? ¿Quién ya no lo hace, muchachos? Es muy difícil. Ya es imposible. Tiene que sacarse 35 kill win, weón. Vota, Giancarlos. ¿Quién gana? Quizzy, Thomas, Mertes, Malibuca. Mira. Ya, Badil tiene la cosa de las zonas. Pablo la gana. No, Pablo ya perdió su prime ya. Giancarlo le metió 2000 al no. A Mertes, Malibuca, creo. Ah, su madre, weón. Está muy ajustada, ¿eh? Está muy ajustada. Está muy ajustada. ¿A qué le metiste 100k? ¡Oh! ¿Le metiste 100k? ¿A qué le metiste? Oh, la mierda, weón. Ya terminó la apuesta, ya, wey. Ya terminó la predicción, puse 5000. Hola, Crofit. Con fe. Con todo menos miedo. Con todo menos miedo. Es el top 3. Dios mío. Están corriendo al top 3. Veno y Tyson están corriendo al top 3. Está mal, está top 39. Elijo confiar a Rice. Ay, no. No, man. What? ¿Qué pasó? ¿Por qué se quedó tan poco?
Disaster strikes. The interesting thing is they don't necessarily know how weak Veno actually is. Tayson's trying to move in on another angle, alleviate the pressure. But our team,
¡ay! A Malibuca también lo corren. Aqua lo corre ellos. Aqua los corre ellos. ¡ay! Y viene más gente.
But I think they've had enough. They realize who they're going up against, and they quickly disengage on out. A breath of fresh air has been had for Malibuca and Mustache.
Luckily enough, they did have to recuperate the damage that was dealt. Now both looking healthy.
Sálalo. ¿Cómo le va a salar, güey? Yo sí la suerte.
Mustache with even more. They've done a good bit of damage, but they cannot.
La Chris. La última, sí, es la última. Ya empezó Brasil, ya termina. Gente, voy avisando. De nuevo. Ya empezó Brasil. Termina la de Europa. Y al toque vamos a ir a ver la de Brasil. No, termina esto y luego vamos a ver la de Brasil. De nuevo, gracias por hacerme acordar, Giancarlos. Cualquier cosa de spoiler, ahórrensela. Aunque sea joda, ahórrensela. No me digan, no digan nada. No digan nada, mano. Cero. Así como lo estamos viendo ahorita, está recontra chévere. Y muchas gracias a toda la gente que respeta las reglas. A pesar de que yo sé que pueden venir de otra comunidad, de otros chats donde es más normal eso. No lo hagan y ya está, bo. Es más divertido verlo así, ¿me entiendes? No le están matando mal, perdón. O sea, digamos que hoy día pueden remontar. Elijo querer. El top 3 no murió tampoco. Kiro y Kido también están ahí nomás. ¿Quién va top 1? Está entre Merstach y Malibuca.
Now at the
Está entre
combat
Merchants y
cash
Malibuca.
section of the match,
Así está la
forecast
tabla,
has
mira.
already been secured. Now it's for that extra loot
Ahí está.
and a bit of metal for Kiro and Kiruo.
A la mierda, weón.
Making it out of the engagement
Están
against Tayson and
exactitos,
Venom.
weón. Mira, acá
Now
sale.
again,
Están
a shot
toditos.
at the trophy or even the global championship.
¿Cómo es la predicción? La predicción es quién gana, pues. Si es que gana uno, gana el otro. Y si no gana ni uno de los dos, pucha. O sea, en teoría, el que quede mejor puesto de ellos. Si es que no la ganara cualquiera de ellos dos. A la mierda, o sea, se puede decidir por kills, en verdad, pues. No. Si es que no gana alguno, la predicción me irá para... O sea, quien... Digamos que si es que no gana ni uno el FNCS, que la veo bien difícil, la verdad, la predicción irá para que saque mejor puesto. Porque igual están parejitos, ¿me entiendes? Están a la par. Nadie tiene mayor puntos que otro. Están en los mismos puntos. Ben y Tyson quieren correr. Claro, si gana el tercero. Claro, la predicción es quién gana el FNCS, muchachos. La predicción es quién gana el FNCS. Si es que nadie de ellos, si es que ninguno de esos dos dúos gana el FNCS en la predicción, ya, le vamos a dar la apuesta a la persona que de ellos dos saque más puntos. ¿Me entienden? No va a volver. Porque tienen la misma cantidad de puntos ahorita ellos. Ya mandé la predict, Pedro, ya la mandé. ¿Por qué te tiembla, Giancarlo? ¿Por qué te tiembla la nalga? Esa es la predicción, muchachos. Mira, acá está. 30.000 puntos de Rice, 15k de Vinx, 100.000 de Nikito, 40.000 de Waka, 30k de Javier, 15k de Giancarlos. Ya mandamos la predicción. ¡Ay! ¡Corre, Verstach! Lo corren, creo. Lo están corriendo, weón, mira. A la mierda, weón. A la mierda, weón. Sí, probablemente sea eso, Jairo. Probablemente la va a ganar el que saque más kills en el final de la partida. ¿Por qué no pelean? Porque están top 1, Chris. Si pelearan ahorita es muy 50-50. ¡Uy, no! Malibuca está uno de vida. Le caí sniper a Malibuca y no le mataron. ¡Uy! ¡Me dejaron a un Okami! Puede ser que cierre así, Jairo. Dios. ¡Se lo corren! ¡Se lo corren! Ahora se lo corren a Kami. A la mierda, weón. Debe ser por el modo espectador. Uy. Mataron a Kami, tienen Surge. Mataron a Kami, gente, ya tienen Surge, ¿ah? Mataron a Kami, tienen Surge.
Not only elimination, the knockdown and the elimination is going to be a huge benefit to the damage that they
37. A la mierda, weón. ¡A la mierda!
The issue is, it wasn't even a knock. It was just one shot onto an opponent that was low. It gave them that 6 points, but it didn't give them as much damage as they would have liked. They have the loadout, they have the loot, but for Reason and Vadil, they also want more.
Oh my god.
Into a tough spot. That's Swizzy and Puchik they see on the other side. Trying to get aggressive while they can.
No, Malibuca está asustado, weón. Es que tienen que jugarle agresivo a esa gente. Si no le juegan agresivo, iban a ganarles la isla. La isla es el lugar más seguro para estar ahorita para ellos. Vadil y Reason están corriendo. Imagínate irte a correr por el lobby de pucha, de donde están los mejores del mundo, weón.
The zone will be closing here in just 7 seconds, and they'll be able to know where they have to rotate to.
A la mierda.
Reason you can see is staying above to keep a good line of sight on the players in the surrounding area. Zone has pulled close to them. They don't have to rotate a long ways to still be in the edge, as now they're not really forced to do anything too urgently.
No, they can literally just sit up there, gather information. They know teams below them, but now they can start to scout of which teams are positioned all
Tengo
around
miedo.
them on this island. So that way when they finally do make a rotation, maybe even in the
Eran
episode
amigos,
after
creo que
that,
jugaron
it
juntos
gets
incluso.
not in their
Malibuca y
favor.
Thomas HG jugaron la anterior temporada
Exactly where they
juntos.
want to rotate to. 451 points as we look aboard. Another duo, Geary's and
No,
Nari.
Benji. ¿Cómo que King mató a Benji
Just
Fishy? ¿Tú
away
crees?
From everybody else outside of Ruined Wields. 451 points.
Mira,
Like I said,
huevón.
even for
Quizzy
them,
le
they
gana
may
por
not
una
think they have a
kill.
chance at that first place.
Por una
They're
kill está ganando,
lining
¿verdad?
their pockets with thousands
King
of
mató a
fun
Leobas.
prizes, over
3 años tarde.
$800,000 up for grabs today.
4 incluso creo, ¿no?
And once
Sí, no,
again,
4 porque ya
just
pasó
a
la World Cup es en
2-point
2020.
difference. The match started with a 2-point difference, and after a couple of
Holy.
eliminations, we're back at it once again.
5,
Third
no
place,
sé.
530 points might seem far, but anything's possible with 100 points for that victory royale and 6 points
130.
per elimination. And really all depends on what happens to these top
A la
teams.
mierda, tan rápido
Queasy
pasando
and Thomas,
tiempo.
we can actually see where they're at on the threshold now. They got that small tag for the elimination.
¿Te imaginas?
130 above, but they're gonna need more.
Puto, un Mitro Mongrel estaría chévere, pero Mitro sí ya no juega nada, creo.
The double-edged sword of getting that elimination early. You're able to get the points. But especially since Teeny was kind of chased around before he finally went down, there's really not enough damage when it comes to Surge. So there's no real feeling of comfortability. But on the other side, Malibuca Mustache, a couple of well-placed sniper shots, beaming into players' boxes, even getting into a close engagement versus another team. They're well above the damage threshold on top of Loot Island with very
Inglesa, es la, el Guild es la organización de Beckham, creo.
I mean, that knock-on elimination was crucial for the position that they're in.
De
now.
Beckham creo que era, no me acuerdo.
Thomas HD and Queasy, the numbers getting lower and lower, but the
Sí,
stress
pues.
levels are rising. Storm Surge is active. At any second now, they could go from
De verdad
37
sacaron top
above
2,
to
no
below,
sabía.
as they need to find damage.
Ay, no, ¿no van a morir por Surge?
situation and the switch up. The big difference of being
No.
versus being uncontested. They're not able to get the early damage whether they win, lose, or draw the fight against Noms and Cringe because they're no longer there at Lavish Layer. And with not too many teams rotating in that direction,
No por Surge, por
it's gonna
favor,
be
no
hard
por
for them
Surge.
to try to figure out where they're kind of forced into certain positions. Even with a sniper, Thomas is not able to find anything to work with. Luckily for him, Queasy landing a couple of shots, 18 above. But this is not a feeling of comfortability for this duo that has their eyes set on that first place.
A miracle as now 223 above as players continue to get eliminated, opening up a bit of space, little breath of air for the duo as they can focus now on their rotate. You can even see all the players by the Rift Island that are going to be making use of those rifts, of those launch pads close by.
Mierda,
Should even open
weón.
up that option to take shots on them as they rotate in. But the first thing they have to focus on is making it to zone.
Elijo creer.
As Thomas has lost a bit of shield, not cracked yet though.
Yeah, forced to stagger in that
Elijo
position. Those
creer,
engagers
chat.
rotating on foot instead of taking those rifts. You see everybody that was positioned towards Loot Island making their way on over. Queasy and Thomas were looking like one of the first.
Elijo
teams to
creer,
try to
chat,
get
elijo
zone.
creer.
Now they're going to be one of the last, and they fall below the damage threshold.
Uy, no.
So they have no other choice but to look back of zone where they see a fight going on. Now damage being dished out. They fall even further below. This is a nightmare of a situation for Queasy and Thomas to be in.
Forced to pop the floppers. Doesn't look like they have a lot of shields. Only thing helping them is that medallion.
No!
Forced to get into zone. It's gonna be Phaser and King holding them, but the snipe, it's hit by Thomas HD. Is it gonna be enough to continue the pressure?
¡Lo mató a Phaser!
But this is his chance. He staggered, focused. That's Loki on the other side, along with his duo. Queasy's trying to move in on the other side, but nothing is given. Everything is earned in a
Lo
situation
revivió.
like this. And I do believe King was able to get the revive back on up to Phaser. And Thomas Queasy still flirting with disaster when it comes to that Storm Surge.
60 por encima.
Put them back into the match now. 60 above.
¿Se imagina que King los mata?
Put them into position. They are
53.
getting big pots now being put to good use. Floppers still available.
Voy a dejar el chat para la última, ya voy a dejar el chat, voy a dejar el chat.
The rest of the damage they need.
Pero está muy tenso.
They're gonna do it aggressively.
This is their chance right now. It's almost
¡Mataron a Queasy!
all or nothing situation, but Queasy's
¡Mataron a
dropped.
Queasy!
Queasy's dropped. Phaser's able to get the knock. He's trying to save the day. Thomas with the backfire gets a knock back onto Phaser. This is everything for Queasy and Thomas. King is getting backed up little by little. But Valiant not able to help out Thomas because it's in the inventory.
¡Por el profesor!
but Kiro and Kaduo, they caused destruction. That was a huge blessing in disguise for Thomas and Queasy because now they're free to get this revive back on up.
¡No te creo! Murieron por Surge. King y Phaser murieron por Surge. Lo llegó a revivir. No, no pongas más emotes, no pongas más emotes. Esa, la última la quiero vivir. Quiero vivirla con ustedes. Hay que verla cómo la juegan. Pero lo llegó a revivir al menos. Sí murieron por Surge, ha dicho, sí murieron por Surge. Porque lo llegó a revivir. Ojo con el top 3, ¿ah? El top 3 también lo puede hacer bien. Aqua murió, Tyson murió, Mertas sacó una kill. Cada kill es importantísima, la kill vale 6 puntos, acuérdense, ¿eh? A la mierda. Está ajustadísimo, weón. Literalmente es el que gana la partida gana, weón. El que saque más puntos gana es.
Yeah, the biggest thing that's keeping him alive is the constant hot potato with that medallion. No real shields to
Comienza la rotativa.
floppers. 41 zone beginning to move in.
¡No!
This is where it's going to get tough for Queasy and Thomas. And as soon as open, Thomas takes a ton of damage. Shields getting dropped. Medallion is in the inventory of Queasy, so he's not going to have time to get the and now he falls below the threshold. Adversity at its finest as Queasy remains the target of multiple players in the lobby.
Forced to pop a flopper up to 74. Medallion gets dropped. Thomas now will be able to recuperate shield once he picks this up. But it's Pablo. It's Bevy's knocking on their door. Are they going to be able to get out? Grapple Blade comes through. Rotate continues.
55 below. It's not going to be an easy rotation.
¡Tienen Surge!
Point gap.
¡Tienen Surge!
8 back down to 2. Means Malibuca, Merstash, they found elimination along the way. Queasy is down. Queasy is down. It's all up to Thomas. 8 builds to his name. He's trying to get this elimination.
Una kill. Murió Queasy. Solo queda Thomas.
But not many builds. But he gets bandages. Another pressure towards the front.
Murió Thomas.
It's looking disastrous for Thomas as everybody begins to focus back.
Ganó Merstash y Malibuca.
Malibuca and Merstash are still alive. And that is 2 or 3 more points.
Ganó Merstash y Malibuca.
Just overtaken it right there.
Merstash lo mató. Ganó Malibuca y Merstash. Cuando terminemos Europa como los grandes, muchachos. ¡Y muchachos! En teoría, Merstash y Malibuca parece que ya han ganado, pero aún queda vivo el top 3, ¿ah? El top 3 todavía queda vivo. ¡Oh! ¡Mataron a Malibuca! Si mueren el top, si muere Merstash y el top 3 hace buena partida, puede ganar el top 3.
Not just yet. Merstash still needs to be able to clutch up. He's been in this situation before 1 year ago, and he was on the victory end along with Tyson.
Se le mete el cubo a Merstash.
But now it's going to be put to the test yet again. He's under pressure.
Merstash!
He's well above the damage threshold, and he still finds a way to stay alive. Even dodging zone along.
Se murió. El top 3 está vivo. El top 3 está vivo. El top 3 está vivo.
No.
Si el top 3 clachea, el top 3 puede ganar, ¿ah? Si el top 3 clachea, el top 3 puede ganar. El top 1 y el top 2 están muertos. Se le murió el dúo. Todo depende de Kiro. Todo depende de Kiro. No agarró.
He didn't grab the medkits though. He panicked. He went to the front of zone. Doesn't grab materials either. Kiro has to dig deep. He got 6 more teams, 7 more teams down worth of placement points. 581. He needs to be able to push himself over the edge.
Oh my god.
So many teams in his path ready to stop him.
¿Mató uno? Ok, mató a Vico. No creo, huevón, no creo, ¿no?
Separated, now ahead of zone.
¿Será que el top 3 la gana?
He's earned this spot. First elimination has been found, but once again, running out
Tiene
of
que
gas,
sacar
running out of time. You see him
530,
looking all
gente.
around, trying to look to the backside of the zone. Can he find anybody sneaking around? There are so many duos on top of that layer that he's at.
¡Ay,
So
se
Alex
terminó!
Hero finally goes down. He didn't get enough points.
Malibuca and Merstash, will they be able to hold on to the throne as Marius is finishing off this last match? Medkit popped, 3 elims on the board.
Sangil got his first victory royale this weekend in FNCS Finals lobby, looking to make it too, looking to get more points and line their pockets with money, but Marius forced to drop down low, shots coming from above. It's almost looking like a solo FNCS.
Ay, Dios.
One duo, Noms and Cringe on the high ground.
¿Quién gana?
They're holding strong. Just 11, 14 HP for Marius. He's forced back into zone, but it's duos that are up against him. He needs a miracle for the 1 versus 2. Takes the first shot, hits a wall, blocked off, as now Marius is the only solo left.
¡No!
Just hiding the only nook.
Cringe y Noms la ganan.
But he gets taken out. Analyx, Sato on the low ground. Noms and Cringe switching up their drop spot in the last
Ok.
2 games.
Veremos al final la partida por respeto al FNCS.
Up until this point. What a way to end the game if they could somehow drop
Andy
down the
Lexi,
opponent
Visco.
and finish it
Vesco.
off. But multiple win conditions going around both of these teams. 3
Ow.
minutes each. Sato getting tossed around, trying to play disruptor, but he's gonna get dropped down. Noms and Cringe, they're the duo on the high ground, but Analyx forced to start to heal off early.
Both teams
¿Quién ganará?
have 3
¿Arriba o abajo?
Andalex, though, the pressure's on him. Noms goes down with the knock. The heal off continues now. Who is going to be able to outlive?
Analyx does have a little bit of lead in terms of those med kits, but we've seen multiple heals getting scattered around.
Gana
against
Andalex.
fallen foes.
Gana
Analyx
Andalex.
starting the last of his opportunity. Cringe, he finds another one, almost fumbles the bag there, but the med kit is going to be popped.
Gana Andalex, gana
now
Andalex.
has to turn the tides. He has to go on the hunt, sees an opponent, staring him in the eye.
Y GG's, muchachos.
Clutches up by taking down Cringe.
Y Andy Lex termina llevándose la partida. Y así, muchachos, termina la FNCS de Europa. Y la persona o el dúo ganador de la FNCS de Europa es... ¡Por un punto! ¡No puede ser! ¡Ganaron por un punto! ¡Por un punto! Merstach y Malibuca. ¡Por un punto! Mano. Qué locura FNCS, weón. Qué locura. Qué locura, weón.